Oh, man. Wow, that's dark.
Yeah.
It's dark.
Dennis, how is your dark happy hour going so far this week? Are you still doing your quarantine miss?
Yeah, so my wife came up positive after she contacted with her dad, who was positive. And
Okay.
she immediately threw her groceries in a garbage bag, and we separated rooms in the house, and each with our own bathroom, and me downstairs almost all the time, and the big solid closing door to my bedroom that, anyway, we never got within 6 feet of each other, and we always had masks on.
Right.
So she got it, and I tested negative. She's in her 8th or 9th day, which is when a lot of symptoms happen, and she's feeling sicker today. She's coughing a lot more. She's tired. And so I came up negative, so I'm still quarantining until her symptoms are gone. Recommended to be 14 days from the time of symptoms, which takes us to January 4th or 5th.
Right.
And so far, we've been so good at it that the fact that I already could have caught it from her since my test.
Right.
She's contagious. I don't have it. And
you didn't at the time of the test.
Moment in time.
Right.
That was a moment in time.
Jesus.
And so I got to start to tell you, so I had never had a test. So there was this big snafu, and it was weird. And I got it all figured out at the end, but I make a phone call, and I say, is this my doctor's office? Yes, it is. They gave me scheduling. I said, I need a test. My wife this, my wife that. She said, okay, come in. And we're in Richland. And I said, all the way in Richland? And she said, yeah, because it's a 20-minute drive. And she gave me an address, and I remembered it as my new hospital, because I changed hospitals. And I go there, and I said something like all the way to Richland. And I said, all right, that's fine. I'm on my way. I'll be there in 15 minutes. And I get there, and I go around, and it says, she said to me, go around the back. There'll be a phone number. Call the number. I call the number. Hello. And she says, hello, you've got a laboratory. We're in Kalamazoo. And I said, I'm in Richland. I'm out behind the door. And she said, they don't do tests out there. And she said, they told me that they started today. And she said, you've got the wrong number, so I'll forward it to you. And I did, and they put me on hold, and then told me I have to call back, blah, blah, blah. So the story gets longer. And worse, I go to the front, and she says, we don't have any record of you having an appointment. We don't have anything. We don't have any notes that you were called. And I felt the need to say to her, well, we're clear about one thing. I'm not making this up. Okay, I mean, you may have this incredulity about what now? You talked, and so I said, well, maybe I'm totally screwed up, but I'm sure this is the address that I got. And I said something about 32nd Street. And then left. And right away, a woman called me and said, no, you want to take a test? You got to be in Kalamazoo, 10 minutes from my house. So I go there. I say, all right. And I get a hold of the other place and say, I don't know what happened. And she said, I don't know either, but I'm going to get my supervisor. She put me on hold. And I hung up and went and got my test. So I pull in, and I never had a test. I rolled down the window, name, birthday, blah, blah, blah. She said, all right, I'm going to put this up your nose. I'm going to leave it up there for 10 seconds. And you're going to cough, and you're going to want to sneeze, and it's perfectly normal. Just keep as still as you can. It's only going to take 10 seconds.
10 long seconds.
And I made several mistakes along the way. The first one was looking in her hand to see what she had and noticing that it was about the size of a chopstick, but more of a skewer for shrimp,
right,
with a little white thing on the end of it. And I looked and I thought, now I remembered people telling me they go pretty far back up. So
we remember that cartoon of Trump where it goes to the back of his skull.
Right. That's how it felt, and that's how I described it to everyone. So here's the thing: as she's twirling away, counting to 10, like we're playing hide and seek, and she wants to give you plenty of time to hide. That's 1. That's 2. And I'm like, 1, 2, 3.
Time is variable.
And so
it's relative.
As she pulls it out, another car pulls up, and a couple. She pulls it out, and I begin sneezing, and I've got a ferocious sneeze that it is loud, and we're in a
explosive
garage, in an underground garage, so it's short quarters. My window's open, the windows of the other cars open because they're going to get tested, and they hear me sneeze and they think it's hilarious to watch me rubbing my eyes because this thing was so unnerving to me. And then the sneeze, not twice, 3 times, achoo, and rubbing my eyes and finding something to rub my eyes with, and they were laughing. And I wanted to wait to see
how they did
to get it, but I didn't think that I should. And so it lasted a while, but then it comes up negative.
How long did it take to get the results?
They said what I've always heard, 48 to 72 hours. I found out the next morning. Nikki found out the same day. And this is a town that's got this shit. They're responsive.
You'd think after we've been doing this for a year, you think they could figure out, yes, clearly we should be focusing all our energy on creating the vaccine. But you think some auxiliary team could have been working on a more comfortable test, right? Like,
oh, I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are. That this stuff that they're putting out there now that they understand what the vaccine's all about. Obviously, they understand the molecular fucking makeup of the thing enough to kill it, which means that they'll be able to get better and better at improving.
That's what
it's amazing what they've done.
Yes, for sure.
In less than 2 years, it's astounding. It's astounding. It's fucking democracy at work. It's democracy and capitalism at work. It's what our country is founded on, and it's got religious overtones. Because we say every day, "Thank God we don't have it," or "Thank God we're still alive." Oh shit!
Yeah.
So I went out to the home and saw Grandma. Man, it was sad. It was sad. She's on her bed. I wished her a Happy New Year. She wished me a Happy New Year. So,
yeah,
my uncle passed.
Uncle,
83-year-old uncle passed. My dad's brother.
Mm-hmm.
So,
not COVID.
Cousins. Yeah.
COVID.
Hell yeah.
Fucking A.
He waited to go in until all they could do was make him comfortable.
Yeah.
Or he deteriorated that quickly. He had a lot of underlying conditions, but fascinating story about him. I'd like to tell it to you. The last time I saw him, me and my two brothers went to go see him at his house, and his name is Rafty, and he's crafty because he can work with his hands.
Uncle Rafty?
Yes.
Sweet.
Yes. And so we go there, and all through his house, he has furniture that he's made out of cut wood and grandfather clocks that are made out of cherry, perfectly done. He's the master woodsmith. And has made stuff for all of us, especially my older brother, whom he's closest to in age. And he said, when I was in the Navy, we used to work in these rooms that were there were 3 rooms, and they were all full of equipment. And it was really hard for people to get around. And we came up with the idea that we should be building shelving into the hull of the ship more and move it out of the way. So him and a couple of other guys in the Navy in these cramped quarters took some graph paper,
right,
and laid out a plan on how they could create storage units that would reduce the clutter and store things in a way which opened the space up so that the men could work smarter and better and safer, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And he said, and I'm like my dad in that, who also was a carpenter, but more importantly could draw. He was an artist, and he could draw. And a lot of artists, his graph work when he was doing plans for building and whatnot were impeccably written. You just straight and beautiful.
Right.
So the Navy did this change based on his plan.
Yeah,
I know. It's in defense of our great country, and then they ended up loving it so much, and he drew all the stuff and how big all the measurements were, where all the stuff went, and they adapted the plan. They did it, and the entire Navy adopted it.
Wow.
As a modification to their freaking warships. And it was an amazing story coming from him. And I'll tell you one more story about him. In fact, I'll do it now. Then.
So the entire Navy has shelves. I think we should brand
the Rafty storage areas.
Right.
And so I'll tell you what he said.
Yeah.
To close down that story when the 3 of us were there at his house where all the things that he'd made were surrounding. But let me give you an image of this first, is that I walk into a brewery in my hometown, and I'm in a side door. It's a brick building, and when I open up this big stainless steel door, I walk into a bar that will comfortably hold about 8 people, with a bar behind it that could hold 4 people. Very small room, all white tile, floor, ceiling, and stainless steel. And 3 tapped kegs built into the wall of the brewery's 3 top beers.
Yes.
And a little silver tray underneath it to catch the overflow.
Right.
And they would give you a glass that was only 8 ounces. And it's about the size of what I would call a grapefruit glass.
Right.
It's not very big.
Yeah.
And so the idea was, when you're at the brewery, you walk in, it's where the employees got to drink. And so I walk in the brewery, and somebody's behind me. They say, "Can we help you? We're in street clothes," me and my buddy. And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, we thought we'd have a beer." And he said, "Oh, huh." And I said, "So I'm Rafty's nephew."
Right.
And, he said, "Oh." And just as he's saying that, comes Rafty around the corner. Now, I'm 40 years old, so he's about 58, 60 years old. He comes around the corner, and he's dressed all in whites. White pants, white T-shirt, white cap.
Not a Navy uniform.
Like a naval cap. Yes, in a white bib.
Right.
And he waits. And he says, they're good with me.
Nice.
And the bartender says, so we just drank until we were blind. Until we were blind. It didn't take long. When you're drinking free beer in 8-ounce glasses, the time goes quickly. And there was this interaction. So that was Rafty, and he was quick, and he was a bit gruff. We had some run-ins when I was a hippie teenager. He didn't approve of my hippie ways, to say the least. But that day, he was young, strapping Rafty, working in the brewery.
Nice.
Where his uncle and my great uncle Ed was a brewmaster and created a brand of beer that sold for years, Cook's Holiday Ale,
nice.
Which sold all over the place. So anyway, now Rafty is 80 years old, and we're at his house, and he tells his story. And there he is, and we're in his living room, and there was this long pause where my three brothers and I just looked at him, and he looked at each one of us, and then he said, I always thought that was pretty remarkable, that they used our plan and that I drew it. And it was the most conclusive and definitive statement I ever heard from him in all of his 80 years, all of my 67 years, and the longest story I've ever heard him tell in my whole life. And so now he passed yesterday. Here's to Rafty.
Rest in peace, Rafty.
R.I.P., buddy. Boy, did he drink the Cook's beer. Him and my dad. So one of the things they did, they were both mechanical. So they took a bicycle. They saw these plans. They took a two-wheel bicycle, a male bicycle, and they turned it upside down. And when they turned it upside down, they did some welding work on it, and they ended up creating a bicycle that you had to basically stand on the top of a car to be able to climb on. Okay. Because it was extended wheels, and it was about 8 feet up in the air. And they built that bicycle. But they wouldn't let anyone ride it. Any of the kids ride it. Well, because they wanted to see what it was like. And it was dangerous as could be. I don't remember them ever being able to get it. I remember them having to take it apart. But that was one thing they did.
Like a penny farthing?
Here's the thing.
Isn't that the name of the... Isn't that the old-timey bicycles with a big front wheel? Isn't that called a penny farthing?
No, it wasn't like that. No, it was a two-wheeler. It was a 36-inch two-wheeler.
But it was just like elevated?
Yeah, just high up. And they extended everything with welding and metal and
longer chain.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing. The reason that it didn't go any further and that we never got to ride it is we were too young. Because once we got older, the things that they built, the experiments that they had, we were the test dummies. They built a sled that weighed as much as a Volkswagen out of big metal strips with a car steering wheel to steer the front sleds on it.
Nice. Which
were old skis made out of wood. And it was big enough to hold 3 boys between the ages of 10 and 13. It was that long. And it was like cushiony seats. And they took us to what's called Gowanda Hill, which is, if you ever go to Gowanda, maybe you can Google this and see Gowanda Hill, but it is a mother son of a bitch, steep downhill. If you put your car in neutral at the top of Gowanda Hill and you didn't put on the brake, by the time you get down to the bottom, you'd be 72 miles an hour. That's how steep the hill is.
Wow.
They took the sled, and us boys, the first virginal inaugural sledding of the Frankenstein sled they did, put my 13-year-old brother at the steering wheel and pushed us down that fucking road. And the last thing that my dad said, and Rafty was there, he said, like, here goes anything.
Nice. It's like the internet meme of hold my beer.
I don't think. I don't think that my mother was aware of the grand experiment. And we went into the ditch, I recall. And and the thing was so heavy.
Right.
It was like a box car with fucking ski sleds on it. Oh God, boy, it would have got up some speed.
That reminds me of the scene from Christmas Vacation, where Chevy Chase lubricates up a sled and then goes so fast that he ends up in a parking lot somewhere.
Right, it's back when he was funny. Not so funny anymore.
Wow, what a great guy, Rafty and crafty.
He was crafty. One of the things we noticed when we walked into his house is that he had this leather strap, and the leather strap was caught. The loop of it was over the arm, not the arm of a chair, but the backrest of the chair.
Right.
And then hanging down from that leather strap is looks like a piece of bamboo, strong, sturdy bamboo, and at the bottom of it is a shoehorn. And so something he made. And so when he walks in the room, he doesn't have to bend over and get his shoes on.
Right.
Bending over is hard for him. So it's one of his, and I'm sure others' invention, but he built that himself. He's a very capable and patient man with his wood. Not so much for teenagers, mind you.
I have a lot of respect and envy for people that are that good at crafting things that can see a problem in their own life and be like, oh, I know how to fix this. I can build a thing that does this in a shape like this and that I can hang on my chair. I'm like that in the computer space. If I have a thing that's annoying me with a computer, I can write a little script that makes my life easier for that. And some of my best work is for an audience of one, where I'm only going to be the only user. Like, I have this script that turns
an audience of one. You sound like Trump.
That turns our turns our MP3s that come out of this podcast and cuts them up into individual MP3s, extracts the show art for each chapter, and then builds a video that I then upload to YouTube for our show. It's a lot of work for no audience, but it's just...
Now, I saw some interesting data the other day, and dare I repeat myself, but we ended up 936 on one list. And what was interesting to me, and it jogged my memory, and the record will show, that at one point we were 642 or something like that. And I remember talking about that. So we've gone down in this country where it was. I don't know. It wasn't. I know we would talk about Paraguay, but it wasn't that granular definition.
They've forgotten about us. The one guy
that
was
like a continent.
Yeah.
It was like generally in in South America somewhere. But
yeah.
Anyway, and so it is what it is. But I don't care anymore. This is the best time I have. Whether anybody's listening or not, I had a great time. I get to laugh with it, bro. Hey, bro.
Hey,
what's
man.
up? What's up? Hey, man. You growing a beard, man?
I am.
You growing a beard. You looking like Maynard G. And guess who died today? Oh.
Marianne.
No.
What's her name?
Oh. Marianne.
Yep.
Yes.
I
saw Ginger in a film the other day. She was celebrated. She was remarkable. She was a little shell-shocked. You have to find the video. It's actually,
no, I don't.
It's worth showing. It's worth showing. And it's sweet, but you'll know that there was a bit of a shell shock thing going on. Whoa, what you drinking there, bro? Dark beer?
Nah, that was just finishing off a leftover wine from dinner. I'm about to transition to a bit of Jack.
Hello, Jack. Tennessee Wiki.
You don't know Jack. Yes, in honor of Nashville, where a huge bomb exploded. Seems like it was just one suicidal dude, but he certainly messed up the downtown area.
Yeah, and so what are the death tolls?
Just him.
3? Just him.
I think so.
And
some people were injured and
hospitalized.
Because like he chose to do it. Was it Christmas morning? And Christmas morning, no one is in downtown. So
he played the Petula Clark song.
I don't know what that is, but
downtown. He was playing it out of the freaking van in some twisted fucking tribute to what he was about to do. You didn't hear that?
No, I didn't. But
downtown.
I know. I'm familiar with the
song. You know the words?
No.
Let's not go there. That's dark.
So it's. I just want to reflect. I just want to reflect a bit on how, for a long time, COVID has seemed like this thing that is out there, and you read about it on the news and stuff, and already it's inside one of our homes, right?
Yeah.
And how it's presumably some particles of the virus have entered my home as well, just statistically. But so far it seems we don't have any symptoms or reason to get tested. But it's wild. Like today, for my wife's birthday, we went out and had a glass of wine at midday because that's the Spanish are all about day drinking. And we ran into my son's best friend and his parents, and we had a brief social interaction. We brought them around and talked for a little bit. And
masks on, social distancing.
Masks on, social distancing. You put your mask aside to take a sip and put it back. But then I saw their son and my son talking to each other 6 inches from nose to nose with their masks off. And it occurred to me, look.
What did you do?
I didn't chastise anyone.
Did you intervene?
No, because it had already been happening for a while. Brief. I noticed it, but after it had been happening for a while. And it occurred to me, okay, that means I and his parents are in the same quarantine boat. Like because if they have the virus in their house, their son has it in his lungs and would have given it to my son. So basically, you're just sort of assuming it's every time you have an interaction that's not protected, you add that to your tree of contacts, and it's at that point once your kids are talking to each other without a mask, the parents might as well be. Obviously it's better if you can be with a mask, but I don't know. It's going to get around to all of us eventually, and hopefully.
And Christmas, so Thanksgiving travel had
right. There should be a huge
was at 30% of former levels, and it's responsible for what is now exploding. And Christmas ended up to be 35. In other words, even more people traveled over Christmas compared to Thanksgiving. And so it's going to explode again. And in the meantime, those fucking chumps in the White House have established a plan, which is to ship stuff somewhere with absolutely no idea of what the fuck is supposed to happen with it then. And so they're now claiming that they've shipped 19.9 million dosages. And so all these dosages are sitting in these fucking facilities, but they didn't bother to make a fucking plan with the states on how was it supposed to be distributed. And there was no help. It's up to you.
You're talking about the vaccine?
Yes.
Yeah.
And 2 million people have been vaccinated. They promised, 20 million in the clip after clip of them promising 20 million and them now saying we've delivered 19.9 million. So they loaded up boxcars of the stuff, and dropped it off so they could say the next day, yeah, we've delivered 19.9 million. And
but just to the corner of some street corner somewhere, right?
Corner of 6th and Vine.
Right.
Corner of 6th and Vine, there's a lot there. There used to be a community garden. And so there's a lot of wooden pallets around. So they just dropped it off there and then moved on. Who the fuck knows?
Yeah, total landscaping, 4 seasons. Yeah. And I sent you that article today about how Trump has gone to Mar-a-Lago to spend the end of the year there, and how Melania has been orchestrating some changes to our dear leader's quarters, and that he's pissed off about it. And he must just be in such a foul mood because it.
So what did she do? She made it less gold, probably,
right,
and a little bit more for comfort and modern comfort, rather than little thrones everywhere and all this curlicue, and it's all gold and it's all overdone and it's all for photos. And she's like, fuck that. We're going to live here, bitch. I'm fucking redoing it. You get the fuck out of the way, Donald. Read your fucking your prenup that I re-upped with a few changes on it. I'm in charge of decor. You can gripe all you want. Go play golf. Get the fuck out of here. Shut up. She fucking hates him. She fucking
really. You don't think they're madly in love?
No, I think that she wants to make sure that she and her son and her family are comfortable for the rest of their lives. And bless her heart.
That was one of the discussions we had today with the parents of my son's friend, is about Melania, and how, first of all, like, you want to feel sorry for her because she's married to such a knucklefuck, but also she made a very conscious decision before he was president to hitch her cart to that horse, and for the explicit reason of, this guy is going to provide money to me for a long time, and
her parents, who are now
right,
living comfortably, and her son.
Although that wasn't, I don't think that was part of the original decision. I don't think she was like, I'm gonna marry this guy so that my parents can get to America. It
was redone. Yeah. I'm talking about version 2.
Right.
Prenup 20.
Right.
You're talking about prenup 1.0. Yes. And so what the fuck? I don't give a shit about her. I just hope that he fucking, and the thing that he's done, he's so funny. It's like, how do you like him now, Mitch? Now that he's gone against you, and he's trying to embarrass you with this $2,000 stimulus package. And Mitch McConnell, he's so transparent. He says, we'll vote on that $2,000, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a commission there to do the investigation of the election, which Trump also wants. And I'm also going to put in there this foul fucking thing that nobody will vote for. And it's a up or down vote. So everybody gets to say, I would have voted for the 2000, but this other bad thing was in there. And it gives the guys a way out.
Right.
And we'll see what fucking Trump does. He's busy playing golf.
What a great day, an epiphany, perhaps, January 6th is going to be for Mike Pence, where he's going to have to preside over the official certification of the election.
He won't do it.
He won't do it. He won't show up?
No, he won't.
Did I send you that video? I did, where the Lincoln Project is claiming that Pence is walking away from Trump, and the fact that
the dagger that will kill him, and Pence is the dagger that will kill him, right?
So
Something along those lines.
You think the vice president will not show up for that?
No, I know
session?
he won't. It'll be the second time in American history that it's happened. The first time it was because the vice president, serving as president pro tem, had been defeated in the election. And because he didn't want to be responsible for claiming his own defeat, he handed it over to the next in line, and the next in line did it, who I think was the speaker, the president pro tem number two, whatever the fuck that is. And so it's not unprecedented. And all Pence has to say is, there's enough questions about this, and I'm loyal enough to this president, and blah, blah, blah. He won't do it. He won't do it. Pence can't. Pence has no political career with his base if he does this. He won't do it.
Interesting.
And they're gonna create the excuse. That's one of the things that Trump and Pence have been doing through Trump, is to make sure that Trump can keep saying how illegal it all is and never end it. It never stops. It's always another court case. Just until Mike Pence is saying, keep it going, Trump. Keep saying this shit and taking it to court and questioning it all, because by the time that's still not going to be resolved, and I can say there are too many unresolved questions. I can in good conscience, blah, blah, blah. You watch what happens. But he'll be the second in history, so it's who gives a fuck?
Well, there's no way.
Christie's already running. He'll eat those guys alive. Well, he's the toughest, smartest motherfucker out there in the Republican Party right now, Chris Christie.
Well, there's no way this episode is being released before you're either proven right or wrong. So anyone listening to this will know if you are a sage or a...
What did I just predict? I've forgotten already.
You predicted that aliens are going to come down and mate with Donald Trump, make him pregnant with little alien babies. Or at least that's what I saw online. #QAnon. Yes.
Hey, I like Mike Flynn's interview where he says, look, it's not unprecedented that the president of the states call martial law. We can go into these states, these swing states, and we can confiscate the ballot boxes, and we can essentially have the military run a new election in those states. He's on camera. He's just been pardoned, which means that he's admitted guilt. You can't accept a pardon without being guilty. You've got to admit it. So he's guilty of this shit, and he's saying this crazy stuff. The Joint Chiefs of Staff issue a fucking statement that say the military has no role in election in the United States. It's like, what are you guys going to say next? Get the fuck out of here. Oh, it doesn't come soon enough. Oh, it just goes on and on and on. It's like a fucking nightmare. And the COVID is raging. People are dying. There's somebody dying every 30 fucking seconds.
Yeah.
Every 30 seconds, every day.
They don't care.
It's a 9/11 every day.
They don't care, yeah.
And they're talking about fucking renovations in Mar-a-Lago. Really? There's a photo I saw today that you can probably raise pretty quick. It's a photo from him at the golf course, and it's interesting because the ball, a golf ball, is in midair. And whether it's being thrown to him or is tossing it is beyond my point, because the golf ball and the way his hand is, there's an interesting meme there. So you look at the picture and you post it and you put the meme in there because you'll know exactly what. You put it in the chat box. You got something in the chat box. What do you got in there?
Yeah, when I was a little bit late. So when I search for Trump golf ball, all I get are golf balls that have his logo on it.
Trump on the golf course today.
Yeah, nothing coming up for search yet.
That was on my major feed of some kind, but it's just it's fascinating that his life is so unaffected by being the president of the United States.
He would beg to differ, I believe. He's got to be so annoyed by all of this. You mean I got to be there?
He's not changing his schedule. He gets there and says, fuck, I'm still president. Gets up, eats his bacon that he eats for breakfast. He doesn't like breakfast, but he often, will just chew on some bacon, and then he'll watch television, and then he'll end up ordering out Kentucky Fried Chicken or McDonald's or whatever. And then after he finishes that up, he gets a whole bucket of chicken. He gets a small bucket. When he gets his pizza, which he eats a lot of pizza, he takes the top off the pizza and doesn't eat the crust. And he just orders pizza. It's the only way he'll eat it.
Like the worst part of pizza is the bread. It's like pizza. I want a bowl of pizza toppings.
What kind of an animal would do this?
I would like a bowl of pizza toppings, please.
So I got to tell you, you're not going to want to hear this. And it may be it will be the final time this year that I say this. The other day I was channel surfing, and I came upon Moonstruck. And I went to Moonstruck, and I watched the whole movie again.
Is that a movie? I hadn't heard about this.
So here's a question for you.
Yeah.
When you see it, because it'll be worth your while, you got to be wondering about the age difference between Nicolas Cage and Cher. Because at the time, Nicolas Cage was 23 years old. He had just done Raising Arizona, which he did when he was like 21, 22 years old. And then there was another crazy thing he did in there, but not so much. And Cher is 41. And this chemistry between them is so authentic. And it's such a funny movie. But I had to tell you that I saw it again, which you could care less. You have no idea what I'm talking about. You've never seen the movie.
I want to, though. Hey, look, man, we're on episode number 91. I think maybe for when we cross 100.
You'll watch it?
9 weeks from now.
Birthday?
Yes.
You'll watch it by the 100th? Okay.
Or 104, which would be the actual 2-year, if we're counting weeks, but maybe by 100. That's a nice round number. Arbitrarily, base 10, whatever.
Okay. So did you see the last episode of Your Honor?
No. Damn it. I knew last night I was thinking there must be a show that I'm waiting for the next episode of, but I forgot that it was Your Honor.
5th episode early.
So in the last 2 nights, I've watched a movie on Netflix. It's by the guy that made Black Mirror, which I keep telling you you have to watch, Charlie Brooker. And it's called Death to 2020 or something like that. And it's this mockumentary where they are interviewing people and talking about what happened in 2020. And there's so many famous people in it. The primary narrator is Samuel L. Jackson, and then they have Hugh Grant dressed up as like an academic because he told. I
saw a quick advert for that.
Okay, did you?
Didn't double click.
Yeah.
I saw his picture anyway.
So
and thought it would be interesting to come back here and just say this quickly is I saw a whole beginning of Notting Hill today with him and wanted to Google and didn't. How old was he when that was? Because he was so fucking young.
Yes,
and
I remember him. That is Hugh Grant to me. Is Notting Hill Hugh Grant?
It's the stammering,
right?
The stammering way.
Yes,
and Julia Roberts in her. She's so good.
Yes.
She's so good. When she kisses him at the doorway, are you kidding me?
Yes.
And he plays it perfectly. He's crazy. He's crazy smitten. Oh, my God. So I had to leave. I'm finally cleaning out my office and getting rid of stuff I've been gathering for years. I'm quarantined back here and I'm taking a table out because it's crowded and giving me more light from the window.
Wait. The table was blocking light from the window?
A bit, yeah. It's a floor-to-ceiling window, and I had a table that was holding a bunch of nothing. The fact is, I put the table there because the table had to move from where it was, which is upstairs in the 3rd floor library play area up there. It didn't fit. So I said, fuck, it'll fit in front of this window. And I put it there, and all it is just a place to put shit. And
you opened the window and threw the table out?
No. I like the table. It's a little folding table, man. It's one of those that it's round, but it folds down, so it's narrow.
It's round, but it folds down.
And it's got wings on it.
So if you had thrown it out the window, it could have flown away.
It could have. Speaking of wings on the window, I've been listening to a lot of John Prine, and one of the most amazing things.
Another COVID casualty.
Yes, and underlying conditions.
But still.
But I'm listening to his lyrics, and he's
a genius.
Understanding how simple he made things. He told this story about going to this bar when he was playing and he was younger, and he'd been playing there for 6 weeks, or 6 months, and it was the longest he ever played anywhere. And he thought the same people are coming. He said, I think he got nervous or was worried or concerned or whatever. He said, think of it. I bet you they'd like a new song. So he was in the car driving to the place, and he wrote this song. And then he played it there for the first time. And it is just so amazing. I think one of the lines is he's driving in the car through dirty windows and sad smiles. You know, it's hard to see your smile or your face. It's just so lovely.
And why is this fucking light red? I'm trying to get to my gig. Hey, watch out, asshole!
Of why I love country ballads that are just real simple. I'm going to be writing some songs with my son-in-law.
Right.
And I've got one that the image that I want is, and maybe I'll sing it a little later, but it is of the woman, the love of my life, meeting her in a bar in South Texas. And in that bar, as we talk and drink some beer, that when it's clear to her that there's something happening, that there's a tear that rolls off her eyelashes onto her cheek. And that's the image. And I've been thinking for years,
you've said this before.
So what happens next? And it's, wait a minute, no, that's all that happens. That's it. That's the whole song. It doesn't need to be anything more than that.
Exactly. It's a moment in time that is forever special, where your tear done dropped off your eyelash.
Right. Now it needs a middle 16 to take it somewhere. And I think it just came to me. There's a teardrop on my pillow. Oh, I caught it in my hand. Now I'm home and you're still with me. So I hope you understand. I don't want to lose this teardrop. It will make me sail to sleep. Oh, I just love this sweet teardrop. It helped me go to sleep. That's the middle 16.
I love the sail to sleep metaphor. But because everyone talks about sleep being like a land over there that I want to get to, but I haven't heard the verbs to sail there used. Maybe like your sweet breath can push my sails to sleep or something. I don't know.
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Your snoring is pushing my sails.
He's due it. Let's see. Here's from a woman's standpoint.
Channel the woman.
He knows he's snoring. He knows he's snoring. He can't ignore it. I think I'll kill him. He can't ignore it. He's like a whale breathing there with the tail under there. I think I'll kill him. I want to kill him. He knows he's snoring.
Okay. My wife wrote that. You just plagiarized.
You are the king snorer. You can go back to an episode where we talked about this. I certainly did, where your fucking snoring was reverberating off the wall between our two bedrooms. And it was mechanical. It was sort of like the sound you'd expect when there was a battleship and they were moving their heavy guns around and there was metal clanging against metal and there was reverberations and the floor and the walls were shaking. It was a violent, cosmic, seismic interaction, which I sat up in bed and looked at the wall and said out loud, "Are you fucking kidding me?" It was like the movie from Scrooge, the scene from Scrooge when he's starting to hallucinate and the dude comes flying through the wall, but the first thing he has to do before he flies through the door is he's going to make an impression on the metal door so you can see it's a man, and then he breaks through. That's what I thought was going to happen. That would have been weird. That would have been weird.
A man's got to drive his night tractor, right? That's all I'm doing. Driving my night tractor.
You were wild then, you're wild now.
Did you see the news earlier today? Another sad COVID death of a guy from Louisiana who had been elected to Congress election. And at age 41, I think.
I just saw his name. Where's he from? Do you recall? I didn't read it, and I meant to.
I looked.
I was around today.
Luke Letlow. Yeah, and of course he's at age 41. He's got small kids and stuff, and he was from the districts. It's not New Orleans. It's the northern. it follows Louisiana is shaped like a sock. His district is also shaped like a sock because, gerrymandering.
What's the name of the parish?
He was raised in Start, east of Monroe.
Wow, that's down in the bayou, man. That is down in the bayou.
Yeah.
That is, whoa.
So, yeah.
And then he moved north of New Orleans Parish to Jefferson Parish, maybe?
No, Jefferson is where my colleague is from.
Your buddy is?
Yeah. No, his district is touches the northern edge of Louisiana, as well as the northern part of the foot, so to speak.
So to mention Jefferson a minute, and stop me if I've told you the story, but maybe I did, where I went to go see the judge. And the judge in Jefferson was a born-again Christian, and he didn't have a desk. So when you walked into his office, what looked and felt like a pew for two people sat on the edge, and then in the front of his office was a lectern that was turned so that was facing the wall. So when he was at his lectern, his back was to you. And in front of his lectern, he had three computer screens, at least two computer screens. And then all around him his books. And so when you walked into the room, the whole middle of the room was empty. There was no furniture.
There's a lectern.
It was empty.
Facing the wall.
Facing
screens.
And above it, two computer screens. So it was a standing desk.
Yeah, I've heard of a
He used it as a standing. But he was, and so you would come to his office, and I can't remember. He had to pull up a chair, and to sit knee to knee, and he says to me, "Do you know what Chuck Colson? Let's see, what was it? Do you know what Chuck Colson and Brooks Suits have in common? Chuck Colson and Brooks Brothers Suits." And I said, "No, Judge, I don't." And he said, "Exactly. This is it. Gentlemen. The Brooks Brothers suit signifies that you're a gentleman.
Okay.
And this is what we need to do." And he went and got a book about how to be a gentleman. He said, "We're going to teach this in prison. We're going to teach how to be a gentleman in prison. We're going to teach manners. And when they pass a certain standard of review for their manners, they will remove the word prisoner above their number, which actually says offender. Not prisoner, but offender, and then a number. And instead, put in the word gentleman.
Gentleman 49, or whatever, yeah.
Gentleman 40263. And right, and Chuck Colson, of course, was in prison and went through prisoner reentry and wore a Brooks Brothers suit before he went in. And he went in a gentleman. He stayed a gentleman. He was there. He probably wrote the book about it. God only knows. I met Chuck Colson. I was in the back of a limo with Chuck Colson, and he gave me a ride. And it was interesting because I worked down in Charlotte, North Carolina, and Chuck had done his promo stuff for his Christian stuff that he was doing, his Christian reentry stuff after prison. And he published this article, kind of an editorial in the paper, and I wrote a letter to the editor. And I said that it's interesting that in order for these men to get the help they need, you're insisting that they need to be saved. I think the way that we need to bring God into their life is, if at all, if they so choose, to just help them. And the editor was so impressed by my letter that he put our editorials side by side. And it was an interesting moment, and it was good for my organization, which I was running at the time down there out of a Presbyterian church. And so wherever we were going, he rolled down the window and said hello to me and said, "Can I give you a ride?" And we had a talk on the way to where we were both speaking. And the editor of the newspaper, which was one of the sponsors for the speaking gig, was doing promo stuff. And so the place was filled up, and I remember the talk, and we were good with each other, but interesting.
Wait, so are you referring to Chuck Colson, the first member of the Nixon administration to be incarcerated for Watergate-related charges?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Who went to prison. And so he gave me this piece that I have in my room somewhere, and I'll bring it to the next show if you remind me.
He found non-cross prison fellowship.
Yes. Yes. So I worked with them for years and years and years. Huh. But he gave me what looks like a key, and the key is big enough to fit into one of the biggest wooden doors that you would see, an 8-foot wooden door, a big key with a big round end on it. And the part of the key that goes into the lock, the stem, is actually a crucifix. And in the handle of it is another sign of Christ. And he gave me this.
A Jesus key.
And I've still got it somewhere. Wow. Worked with them for years. The man became a believer. He was the real deal. I've got a couple of his books. Brilliant. Brilliant, man.
He received 15 honorary doctorates.
How long was he in prison? How long was he in prison?
Where's my honorary doctorate? Shit. Producing this podcast. How long was he in prison? Career after prison, indicted, prison ministry. He was indicted on March 1st, 1974. After taking the fifth, he was still convicted. He served 7 months in Maxwell Correctional Facility in Alabama. With briefings.
He sure did earn 15 doctorates in 7 months.
Well, no, they're honorary after
honorary
doctorates.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, I think
you just get those. You'd have to do it. You do what you get them for what you've done in your life, not anything you've done with the university.
Right. I think this podcast is worth at least 2 doctorates each.
For a total of 4.
Right.
Hey, so jot yourself a note. Read the novel Beartown. Beartown. Do you watch hockey? Do you enjoy hockey?
I know that it is a sport.
Well, I'm not an avid fan, but let me tell you that you'll like it for at least the same reason I did, was because I don't follow hockey. I don't watch it. And this was a glimpse into the world of hockey that I never would have understood otherwise. And you'll like it.
Beartown by Frederick Backman.
Yes, and he was well known for A Man Called Ove, which preceded this novel.
Yes.
And for which he won some accolades.
Yes. Ove is in his oeuvre. Yes. I will link to this in the show notes at happyhour.fm/091.
91.
91.
Oh,
91.
You're going to see Moonstruck. Oh, I'm just so excited.
Yeah, it'll be weeks from now. I still have 3 more weeks to go on the beard until...
Why?
Because I refuse to shave while Trump is president. That's my edge. And
I'll do that with you.
I'm going to come right up to the edge of having to learn beard maintenance. Like, I'm getting pretty, like, it's getting a little, at some point one would need to learn how to trim a beard. But
at some point one would. And so this is the thing, is that there's a couple ways to do this. One is that when you look at your face and you see the hair growing there in fits and starts hither and thither, what you want to do is that you want to accentuate what your beard is telling you. And so when you shave, if you look closely at my beard, you'll see this right here. See this cut?
I see that
cut. See this cut?
Yeah.
Here? These are cuts.
Yeah.
That's the strength of my beard. See this cut here?
That's a
There's
cut?
short little hairs in there. Now there's not any hair there. So you look at your face and you say to your beard, tell me, where are your strong points? And then you cut to that. And then as that part of your beard goes longer, it tells you more, because one of the things it could tell you is that where you're headed, and this is possible, you're headed toward a fucking billy goat. Now, if you have a true billy goat, it's a cool thing. I can trim mine like a billy goat, and I had a billy goat once that was just here, and it came down to there, and my wife said, if you don't cut that thing out, I'm not going to touch you.
Nah, you said.
Come on. No.
Yeah, so what I need to do research on is the order in which I cut it to achieve the maximum number of beard styles as I'm going down to nothing. So obviously the very last is the mustache.
Down to nothing. What do you mean going down?
When I eventually shave,
you got to shave it a piece at a time?
There are different potential beard styles. Like you've got your goatee, which I can't really pull off, or
no, you got a Van Dyke going. You got a great Van Dyke. That's what I would start with.
I've got a great Van Dyke.
When you've grown it, particularly if you got a little billy goat thing going on. So the first thing I would do is that on your cheek, I would leave what essentially will look like a mutton chop.
Mutton chop.
And then there'll be a space that's about, let's say, put 3 fingers up there, a 3-finger space after your mutton chop to your Van Dyke. So put your fingers in your face. Let me see. 3 fingers towards your Van Dyke. Turn toward me. Turn toward me.
Hold on.
Come on, you can do this.
Hold on. I don't know what a Van Dyke is.
Turn to what? You don't know what a Van Dyke is?
No. Why would I?
You got to Google it.
Dick Van Dyke.
You got to Google a Van Dyke. Holy fuck!
I don't know.
Are you kidding me?
Hold on.
That's
Van Dyke
generational.
Beard. Yeah. So it's no. Van Dyke is the mustache and the.
Yes.
And the billy goat.
But I'm saying add to the Van Dyke mutton chops, and that's why I said a space
mutton chops
of 3 fingers.
is that right?
So if this came down like this, I could shave this off and it would look like mutton chops. Right. But you don't want to lose your chin, even though that's quite a thing. This is what I would do. I would grow a billy goat because that's where you're headed. Your beard is got some thickness here, but in the front underneath your chin is particularly thick.
I keep pulling
and so when you trim that and let that grow, and just trim your cheeks and trim on your neck so that it accentuates that.
But I'm not gonna. What
do you mean?
I wasn't gonna shave
you're
until.
Not gonna what?
Until.
No, you're not shaving. You're trimming. You're just trimming. You're trimming the cheeks. You won't shave at all? You won't touch a razor to your neck?
I don't know.
You said you were going to undo it a bit at a time.
I'm not a... No.
Let it go wild.
No, on the day... Like, on the day that I do it, I was going to take some selfies.
I did that. But I had a huntsman's beard that was almost tit low. Not only did I shave different bits of the beard off, but I had different hats that I wore. So one of my favorites is, speaking of mutton chops, at one point I took my chin right here and I completely shaved it off so that my mutton chop went all the way down as long as my long beard did. Yes. And a mustache and a mutton chop with a clear chin. And I put on a round derby. Now, if you want to, they'll find this photo and post it at my funeral, I hope so. I hope someone makes note of this. But that day when I did what you're thinking about doing, I did 3 or 4 different photos. And at one point,
now we need hats.
With the mutton chops there and the top hat, as I recall, the next thing I did was I took the mutton chops off and instead kept a Fu Manchu that went all the way down the length of my beard. And for that, I put on a multicolored tie-dyed handkerchief over my head and tied it in the back so that I was the hippie dude.
I need to see these photos.
These pictures are available online. You could find them. You can find anything. You found that article for me. I was impressed.
I Googled the title.
Searched and searched.
You told me the title of the article, and I typed it into Google, and it came out. I didn't even type it. I copied and pasted.
Magical. I did the same thing. I didn't get it. I did the same thing. You got more power than me or whatever. I don't know, man.
Google Foo.
I Googled it. Nothing happened.
It's my concentrated Google Foo energy. I can channel.
You know what I found today when I cleaned my office?
A rabbit.
The actual magazine that the writer sent to me. I hadn't seen it in
the actual magazine?
13 years.
Oh, from the article that we were just talking about.
That you found. You should read that. You should read that interesting story about that. It's probably for offline, though. I don't want to get sued. Usually doesn't bother me, but...
So I successfully delivered bicycles to my family for Christmas. We discussed that was pending last time.
And had them out in the garage, the new garage.
Yes, and I also went... So, like, the week that we bought the garage, while my wife was there concerned about some dripping drops from the rain outside, while she was there, a big chunk of the ceiling fell off onto the floor, missing the car, but there's some humidity issues. But again, like, we live at sea level, and this is an underground garage, so of course the humidity. Right. But it also rains a lot here. So anyway, last weekend I was going to go in the afternoon, and my wife said, "You don't need daylight for that. You can do that at nighttime because it's underground and it's all artificial light. You don't need to go during the daytime. Let's use the daylight to." We've done three sessions with my 7-year-old son, who knows how to ride a bicycle, but this particular bicycle is a little bit too big for him, and so it's hard. It's hard to manage. It's hard to get on.
32.
It's hard to get off.
26.
26 or less. Yeah. 24 maybe.
Well, no, they don't.
Okay, whatever. More than I do, apparently, from that last instance. So it's awkward to get onto and off of. And so we spent a lot of time this past week where I would be there around him to catch him if he fell when he got on. And then he would say, "Okay, I'm going to go 75 yards over there." And I would run over there to be there when he got off, because sometimes when he got off, he couldn't hold the bicycle up and he would fall over. So we did some of that.
So I'm curious. Did you do what we're going to do is you're going to hang on to the handlebars. You're going to take a couple of steps. You're going to push the bike. You're going to put your left foot on the lower pedal, and you're going to lift yourself over as you're moving.
Look, that's so interesting. That's the way I get on a bicycle. And I was talking to my wife, like, we're teaching him of being
it's over. Running start.
But I think that's that's a more advanced method. We're starting him with being over the bar to start with.
Holding him. Yeah.
No, he can barely touch on tiptoes, and then with one of the pedals higher, stepping up out of the pedal and getting on the seat, and then continuing with the other pedals. And I mentioned to my wife after many of these starts, I said, that's not how I get on a bicycle. I do what you just said, where I put my left foot on and then I give a push and then I swing my leg over. And I don't know how common that is around these parts, but anyway, we did some of that and he's improved a lot. But since then, it started raining, and it's going to rain for 3 weeks. Oh, and we can't do anything.
Too bad. We got several inches of snow.
So I went in the evening to clean up the garage because there were some like buckets of like paint buckets, but they were just full of water that the previous owner had left. And so I went to clean all that out, and I also went and I took a hammer and I knocked down whatever else was going to fall.
Yeah.
So like I had to go there, pull the car out with a hammer, knock down stuff, and then clean it all up with a broom and a dustbin, and then take it all out to the garbage. And at first, with my first trip to the dumpster, I left the garage area and the door closed behind me, and I realized, oh wait, I left the key in the garage door, so I don't have a key to get into the area where the garage is. And so I got briefly locked out. And it was cold, and because I was working hard, I was like down to like shorts. I was like down to short sleeves, and so I called home and I said, "Hey, can you tell our eldest daughter to bring me the key?" But my eldest daughter was out with her friends on the other side of town, and so I was able to call her. But eventually, some other car came out of the garage, and I was able to get in. And then I said, "Never mind, I'm okay." But so anyway, I spent 2 hours there cleaning stuff out, and there was a big piece of concrete that was there for some reason that I took out. Anyway, I got it all cleaned up. And
so who has to repair that? You own it now?
We own the garage, but the fact that there's humidity is the responsibility of the building. So in theory, the building administration will pay for that. But we're not holding our breath, I think.
Yeah.
Like already there's a part of the wall that's like always wet from the rain. It's all moldy and shit. That we're just going to be like, okay, whatever. So we'll try not to store any.
It's so expensive. And the thing is, to fix that, say it's expensive. Why is it expensive? It's expensive mainly because of the labor. There's no way to get around it. When you've got something like that you're trying to save, you've got to dig a ditch on the upside of it, way below the depth of the wall itself.
But like we live in a place where
to work it.
But I live in a place where if you dig down 10 feet,
you hit water.
You will at high tide.
Right. But your garage is built into a hillside, isn't it?
No, it's just down into that area. But I don't know. There must be some way to drain water better than having it drip, drip, drip in my garage. But anyway, we're gonna start filling it with things that won't deteriorate with humidity. But at the moment, we've got 4 bicycles in there and a car. So,
hey, did you end up listening to the tune I sent you by the Mavericks?
No, I have several emails from Dennis that are in my to watch. I will watch that and think upon it. So anyway, this Netflix thing about Death to 2020 or whatever it was called, it was just a satirical take on 2020. It's what you would like The Onion or somebody like that to talk about the year in review. They had Tracy Ullman playing Queen Elizabeth.
Oh yeah, have you seen her show?
The Tracy Ullman show from a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah, she's remarkable.
She is responsible for The Simpsons.
In what way?
That The Simpsons started out as a short cartoon thing on her show. So like Matt Groening proposed, hey, can we do a little segment on your show with this animated cartoon of yellow people? And she was like, okay. So she's responsible for that. And,
I didn't know that.
And after watching the end of that movie last night, I had a dream where I was like out walking a dog with Tracy Ullman, and it was just weird. We were just there together, how dreams are. Anyway, the worst thing you can do is tell someone what happened in your dream, because no one gives a shit. It's like, I was there, but it was you, but it like wasn't you. And then there was like, we walked through a door, and then we were like in another place, man. And shut the fuck up. Don't talk about dreams. But anyway, Dennis, good luck with your household COVID recovery. I cannot.
You know what I was thinking too? I was thinking as Christmas was approaching, how blessed we are that we're going to be able to have Christmas Day together. and so many people couldn't. And it just happened so suddenly. It just so, he's got it, she's got it, it's in the house. Mask, Clorox.
Been drinking Clorox?
Maybe it's something we could look into. I mean, somehow clean out the system.
Injection is the way.
Or light. Somehow flood light. And maybe that would help. And Burks, we talked about this. She's in the background knowing that she can't make any facial expression. Okay. She can't make any. She's frozen stiff. She's damned if she does. She's damned if she doesn't. She's got to be 100% neutral. She's the best at it. But I swear to God, her eyes narrow.
That moment was in the film.
Of her face.
That moment was in the film.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's great.
It's one of the moments.
How about Giuliani's turn in the new Borat movie?
No,
Did you see a clip of that?
I watched that movie.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you?
So
what'd you think?
I don't have a lot of patience for the Borat character and stuff because a lot of it feels like punching down. It feels like making fun of people that are stupider than Sacha Baron Cohen is. But basically the whole movie, like the part that was leaked of Giuliani is the climax.
2 seconds.
No pun intended. That's the whole point of the movie, was building up to that and then nothing. So
he wrote it as a way to try to tear Trump down, which is what his point was. He never would have guessed in a million years that Giuliani would hand him that scene.
Right,
no
but
intended.
Afterwards, it was edited around that as the primary gold nugget of the film, in my opinion.
Yes.
I don't know. This whole thing of, like, he spent some time living, and again, it's not just spending some time living with some Trump knuckleheads. It's spending time living with some Trump knuckleheads where they have agreed to allow a camera crew into the situation. So I don't know. It feels weird. It feels like, in the same way that I don't really appreciate when they do these things where they go out and they interview people and then they pick out the ones that are the most ignorant about, can you point to Michigan on a map? And they're like, I don't know, is that a country? And then they live there. And then they go to downtown Detroit and they're like, where's Michigan on the map? And 0.1% of the people don't know, and then they like cut that out and they're like, look at these people, these morons from Michigan, they don't know even where their state is. So that's sort of tricky.
Yeah, it's low. It's certainly lowbrow humor to say the least.
Yes.
It's such a parody. And
but there is some genius behind Borat. I will give
the part that I like is the fact that people that I am glad to see they're fooled are fooled. It was uncomfortable to see Rand Paul in the bedroom scene, and it drove home the point of how scared he was, because he looked scared, as you would be too. Somebody was fucking posing as an interviewer and obviously coming out dressed in a fucking tutu with your fucking balls hanging out. I mean, Jesus Christ, it's enough to give a fucking old man a heart attack. So it's base humor, but when it's Giuliani, I can hold my nose for all the rest of it.
I agree. When you're exactly, and that's what I say about punching up, is when you're making fun of the people that are in power. Right. Fine, have at it. Make them look like the most dumbest fools. But a lot of it is dealing with just your random yokels in town, and that part is a little bit distasteful, in my opinion. But
listen, bro, this is our final segment of 2020.
Yes,
we won't be on the air again. Raise a toast to you and yours.
Cheers, my man.
Happy holiday with your Jack Wicke. Did you see the movie Family Man with Nicolas Cage and Don Cheadle, where Don Cheadle plays angelic what the fuck kind of character? And
yes, where there's like a deal with the devil where he switches from being the rich.
It's to teach him a lesson.
Yes, I have seen that.
He doesn't not need anything. He doesn't have everything.
I saw that in the cinema, I think. Yes.
But in the store where the scene happens, where Cage buys his lottery ticket from him, and as he's heading out the door with him, with his eggnog that he bought, Cheadle's character looks and says, "Come on, Jack, let's go." And they get outside, and Cage's character says, "So how did you know my name?" He said, "I don't know your name. I call all you guys Jack."
Nice. That movie's from the year 2000.
Yeah, it was. I've seen it twice this season already.
Oh, wait.
And who's in it? Is Tia
yes.
Leone. We've talked about this.
Who? No, we haven't.
You remember this? You remember the
She
scene.
married David Duchovny, I think.
Yes, and which was pretty serious problems. So I understand it since he's a sex addict.
He certainly played one, but yes.
It was
easy to play.
True.
Yeah. All right, man.
Let's see.
See you next time.
May old acquaintance be forgot.
Who?
As we end this cruel year. Oh, the next podcast I'm looking forward to, because things will be so clear. Oh, 2020, you were bad to us, and 2021 is coming near. Oh, the truth is all about us, dear. It's time for a new year.
Amen.
Hey, man.
No.
Hey Man. Did you see the Tom Cruise movie where the chimpanzee was named Hey Man? With Alec Baldwin as the hippie long-haired owner of the rock and roll joint, and Tom Cruise as the mega rock star. With fucking, oh my God, man. You haven't seen this?
I don't know, but it's time to say goodnight.
Good night.
See you, my man.
We need 2 hours. I got nothing else to do.
You don't have to be down and spend time with your family.
I'm all alone here. Hey, I know. Let's do another episode in about 30 minutes. You go ahead and freshen up. I'll call you back.
Yeah, it's fucking 1 o'clock. Good night, my man. Okay, that does it for episode number 91. Happy New Year, everybody. We made it to 2021. If you'd like to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/happyhour. And the show notes for this episode can be found at happyhour.fm/091. We're approaching the 100 mark, where that 0 is actually going to become useful. Hope you guys have a great year. Let's make the best we can do. We'll see you next week.